Hello, just getting set up. Today is webinar day. If you're new, please let me know. Hi, Louisa. Nice to see a familiar name pop up first. So I'm just getting set up for my webinar, which we do once a month. So it's towards the end of every month. So I'm not sure if you signed up for it. If you haven't signed up, you can have direct access through my stories. So there'll be TikTok stories and also Instagram stories. So I have a few different screens going on. I have an actual webinar that's going to start on Zoom, and that's going to be on this screen over here. And that's about 45 minutes. So if you guys want to join the webinar, definitely find the links through stories. You'll have direct access. There is a 1 p.m. session, and then there's a 7 p.m. session, and that's Eastern time. And so we talk about all things functional beauty, how to reverse aging naturally. Hi, Miriam, nice to see you. This is a completely different account for me on TikTok. I'm testing it out for the first time going live on here. I cannot go, and do the webinar on the TikTok shop live, as that's completely changed. So if you'd like to join the webinar, direct links are in my stories. So I have them on Instagram stories. Also, I have them on TikTok stories in my main account, which is the Beauty Doctrine. It's about 12:52. The webinar will start at 1 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, we have about 8 minutes, so feel free to drop any questions that you may have. All of my lives are always Q&A, so definitely anything that comes to mind when it comes to wellness, age reversal, beauty, skincare, sensitive skin, you name it, you can definitely drop those questions. Otherwise, I'm just continuing to get ready for the webinar here. And if you guys want to join again, you can join through my accounts, the Beauty Doctrine. So whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, you can definitely join on there. All right, so let's see. Just quickly check in on everyone here. Introduce yourself if you're new here, let me know. I can definitely give you an introduction if you haven't seen me before. I specialize in skincare, in sensitive skin, and I founded what I call functional beauty. And so those are principles by which you can start reversing aging naturally without intervention. And by intervention, I mean no Botox, no filler, no all of these harsh interventions that are being sold to consumers that are essentially damaging long term. They always give you that instant gratification, but they will have negative side effects down the road. So we avoid all of those on the Beauty Doctrine. So if you want to join the live webinar session, we do these webinars about once a month, okay? So if you want to join, we're going to get started at 1 p.m. Eastern, so you can join through my stories. So the account is the Beauty Doctrine, and so it's posted the direct link to the webinar. It's a Zoom webinar, so if you have Zoom, on your phone or computer, you can definitely join to actually see the slides and so on, join in on that. And so that's through Instagram stories and through TikTok stories on the account, The Beauty Doctrine. All right, so let's see what's popping up on screen here. All right, so these are just updates from TikTok. Okay. Your skin is glowing. Thank you, Leah. I appreciate that. Hello, Philip David from New Zealand. Wow. Okay, very cool. So what different states or countries do we have here? So I'm keeping an eye on time here. It's 12:54. We're going to start the live webinar at 1 p.m. So keep those questions coming in as you listen in. Hi, Daniela. As you can see, I'm on a different TikTok account. I'm not allowed to have a webinar on the other account, where like my usual one, because that one has been switched over to TikTok Shop primarily. So this is going to be my general account where I'm going to start posting educational content, as I've always done over the years. So you'll find, hopefully I'll be able to balance that out and post on here consistently as well. So let's see. I do not have co-host, you guys. So the person that's sending the request for co-hosting, I don't do that, unfortunately. So I only have 5 more minutes for before the webinar starts. It's if you want to join in on that, you can just join in through stories on the Beauty Doctrine. And thank you, Daniela, for that. So again, I will not accept any invites for co-hosts, you guys, as I'm going to start my webinar pretty shortly. All of my lives are Q&A, so you can definitely drop questions. I'm going to be going through the webinar slides here on Zoom. If you want to join in and see the actual slides, feel free to join in through my stories on either Instagram or on TikTok, and the account is The Beauty Doctrine. All right, so let's see what we have here. All right, very cool. I feel like as I'm trying to scroll this screen, I'm covering this other screen. All right, so let's see, 12:56. Let's get this screen set up. We have just a few more minutes, and the webinar is about how to reverse aging naturally using functional beauty. And so functional beauty is essentially based on understanding all of the things that contribute to aging. So that is structural decline. So that includes our bone and fascia, our muscles. It's not just collagen. And so, yeah, and that's utilizing supplementation, clean skincare, and a clean lifestyle. All right, so keeping an eye on every screen here, you guys. All right, let's see. Getting set up here. We have a few people that are starting to join. So if you're just joining, you guys, you can definitely join the actual webinar on Zoom directly through my stories on the Beauty Doctrine account, either here on TikTok or on Instagram. So we're gonna well, I won't pause the music just yet. We have a few more minutes to go. Let's see. All right, so I'm starting to let everybody into the webinar. So if you guys can please just mute your screens. Hello, Don. Good morning to you. If you don't mind muting your phone or computer, that would be great. Let's just get some settings going on here. Okay, 1 more minute and we're gonna go ahead and get started with the webinar. So let's hold that up on here. Hi guys, thank you for your patience and I appreciate everybody that's joining in. So I'm gonna give it just a minute before I go ahead and get started with the webinar, how to reverse skin aging through functional beauty. So please drop any questions that you may have in the chat. I will get to every single question towards the end. Our next date has been set for the next webinar, and that's going to be September 24th. And so we do these just once a month. So if you have any suggestions for specific topics for upcoming webinars, please just drop them in the chat. And I'll also be sending an email after we're done with the webinar here, so that we can get a little bit of a survey and get your thoughts on how the webinar went. And again, any suggestions for upcoming webinars. So please feel free to utilize the chat. I will get to every single one of your comments after we're done here. So please keep in mind that the webinar is being recorded, so I'm hoping to post it online. So let's see how I can actually get rid of this bar that's in the middle of this screen. That would be very helpful. Let's go back. Okay. So let's see. 101. I'm gonna give it one more minute. So for everybody that's on social media here, if you guys want to join in on the webinar and see the actual slides, you can join in through the account The Beauty Doctrine. It's the direct link is posted in stories on Instagram as well as on TikTok. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started in just a few seconds. So thank you guys for all of your patience. Thanks for everybody that's attending. And we'll get started in just a few more seconds. So let's see if there's any question on here that I can pick up while we wait for everyone to join. All right, we're good. So again, just giving it a few more seconds, just making sure everybody has a chance to join. And if you're joining, please make sure that you are muted and that you stay on mute for the duration of the session. This is going to be about maybe 40 minutes or so, and then we'll see how long it takes, as far as questions. So I have YouTube on, and I also have TikTok. And so you guys, please drop any of your questions. I will get to every one of them after the webinar is done. I have a Zoom screen going on here. So I'm about to go ahead and get started. If you like to join, please join through my stories, okay? So you can go to the Beauty Doctrine account and you can join the webinar through there. So you can actually, if you have Zoom installed, you can be able to see it. So we're just waiting on a few more people here, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So I will definitely get to your question. I see that there is a question there. Do you prefer NuFace or Zip? Actually, I like both, Stacey. I do. Actually, the one difference, I think Zip, they make better conductive gels. So you have a little bit of a variety as far as conductive gels. But as far as the technology of both, so the feedback that I've gotten from clients as well as just from my own personal use, I like them equally. But I do prefer some of the conductive gels from Zip. So hopefully that answers your question there. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the webinar, you guys. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is the 1 p.m. Eastern session, and we have another session at 7 p.m. So if for any reason you want to revisit any parts of this webinar or rejoin, I did send an email earlier with links to both sessions. We have an upcoming webinar for September on the 24th. So right after we're done here, you can definitely sign up for that one as well. And we're going to try to do a little bit of a variation in topics. This one is more general. So this is going to be talking about all the things, kind of the overview, and kind of the blueprint really of how to start reversing that aging naturally, because we need to start looking at it from a different lens than the beauty industry has taught us, and you'll learn more about it as we go through all the slides. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions throughout, just please drop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the session. All right, so let's see, move into the next slide here. So again, this webinar is about how to reverse aging naturally through functional beauty, and that's looking at root causes. So the root cause of every single culprit of aging, and I can tell you it is not just collagen decline. The reason why I created functional beauty is because I spent 30 years now in the beauty industry as a certified skincare expert. I interfaced with thousands of consumers over the years. Early on in my 20s, really early in my career, I worked for Dr. Perricone, and that helped me a ton. He's the father of the inflammation theory. He's pretty much the only dermatologist I know that really linked internal health with external beauty. So he didn't rely solely on all these topicals like retinoids and so on. He relied heavily on diet supplementation, and that's where I got really my obsession with health, and I started applying that, you know, to beauty, to skincare, and that works so much better. Actually, my own personal journey in skincare, I, as a 26-year-old, I'm 49 now. When I was 26, I developed a severe immune response to most skincare products. I'm still allergic to a lot of them, and I think that was kind of just an overload, really, just being around all of those products, constantly layering all that stuff on, not being conscious, not knowing that all that fragrance, all those toxins, all those artificial colors and so on, they really were kind of accumulating and then causing a reaction eventually. So that caused me to be extremely sensitive and eventually just not being able to tolerate anything. And so that took me a while, took me a couple of decades. And of course, working with a lot of people, you know, a lot of consumers and with a lot of brands day in and day out, understanding, you know, all of the different facets of beauty and what it takes to, you know, develop a product and how these products work on consumers and so on. And then of course, again, my own personal experience, all of that led me to creating functional beauty, because I realized that skincare is really not enough. Skincare actually is a culprit. Skincare can be a reason why we age, and it's very true. So a lot of people rely, and still during my consultations, a lot of people come to me and asking me what's the most powerful skincare product, or what's the most powerful serum and so on. You know, what's going to make a big difference. Skincare can make a very little difference. There is a place for it, but it's not going to be the biggest impact on how you age. The biggest impact on how you age is your lifestyle. It's the food you consume, it's the supplements, it's how well you sleep, and your ability to repair. And so no one in beauty spoke about these things, and so that's why I created functional beauty. And so that's talking about all of those things together to bring us to good skin. Okay, so it's work. There's no magic wand, really. There is no magic cream. It's really understanding everything that's involved in creating a wrinkle, or, you know, sagging skin or dull skin or pigmentation, all of those things, and then targeting them at the root cause. So this slide here is really just little, you know, snapshots of my story. When I used to work, I traveled pretty much to every state in the US, and I traveled globally, being head of global education. I was, you know, VP of sales. I consulted for a lot of different brands, including Scarlett Johansson's brand. I was very privileged to have met Dr. David Sinclair. That was a conference in France, actually, about resveratrol. I spoke on a lot of different stages and so on. So, you know, I have an extensive background in beauty, and so I'm trying to share all of that knowledge that I've accumulated over 30 years into, again, summarizing it into functional beauty. And you'll see a lot of that content on the beautydoctrine.com, and of course through my social media. And so just to summarize it in one slide, beauty essentially is health. Okay, so your skin is deeply affected by your stress, by your sleep, inflammation, hormones, nutritional status, circulation, nervous system health. I know it sounds like a lot, but that's the simple truth. So this, a lot of times when people see this, they're like, okay, you know, I can't really fix it with a cream. And you can't. You can improve the skin with a cream, but, you know, for you to be able to truly get to that, like, firm, dense, clear skin, you really have to learn about a lot of these things and start adopting some of, you know, the methods that I will share. So the skin ultimately is not separate from the body. It is an organ, and somehow we started treating it as something that's superficial. It's something that we wear on the outside. So a lot of times we're poking at it, we're scrubbing, scratching, doing microneedling. All these things are detrimental to our skin long term. So we're seeing those short term results, but long term, they're very damaging to the barrier and overall skin health. All right, so let's see. My computer is really lagging here as I'm trying to move through the slides. Here we go. So what most anti-aging advice gets wrong? What it gets wrong is that aging has to do with collagen primarily, okay? So we hear that all the time, collagen breakdown, collagen breakdown. Collagen is the word that's most repeated in the beauty industry because of course that sells products, it sells a lot of collagen, collagen infused creams, which obviously they don't work. You know, your skin aging has very little to do with collagen because we age structurally. Our bones are resorbing, our fascia is getting stiff, our muscles are weakening. So all these things, all of those are structures that are involved in aging. And you might think about someone that you know that's aged, that has a facelift, that's wrinkle free, maybe someone that's even used retinoids their entire life. They still look their age, or maybe 5 years younger or 10 years younger, but you're not going to out of a sudden look 20 when you're 80 with a facelift. Just not happening. And that's because of all the structures under the skin that were supportive of the skin. They're kind of resorbing and getting weaker. And so we need to start looking at aging differently from that lens of supporting all of the different structures rather than just skin or rather than just collagen, okay? So over time, aging is affected by the deeper structural layers of the face. Again, that's your fascia, your muscle, your bone, circulation, lymphatic flow. And this is why so many people are just, frustrated. So in most of my consultations, people are like, I've tried everything, I've done everything, and nothing is working. And it's because we're looking in the wrong direction. We're strictly looking at how do we boost collagen. So we're doing harsh lasers and harsh treatments and so on, again, looking very narrowly at one culprit and not everything else. All right. And so this pretty much summarizes what I just talked about. So the way that a lot of people are approaching aging based on how it's been presented to us by the beauty industry, collagen breakdown. So people will kind of start exfoliating more because they're told peels will help them produce more collagen. They're using stronger and stronger actives. You're layering more products. You're constantly trying to correct. And that's the wrong message that you're sending your body and your skin. So many people, as a result of that, when you're aggressive with your skin, you end up, and this is something I see every single day with my clients, lots of redness, sensitivity, increased inflammation, impaired barrier. So we have this invisible layer of fat that holds our skin cells together that just becomes impaired because it's constantly under attack. And that's why we start developing more premature aging, believe it or not. So the more aggressive we are with the skin, the more we age because we're sacrificing hydration, moisture, and other structures just to boost more collagen. And so the goal should not be to constantly stress the skin, rather to support the skin. So we need to understand biology and start supporting that skin instead of just aggressively exfoliating it. So what are the hallmarks of aging? So now we're going to go a little bit deeper than the skin. So some of the biggest ones, you have mitochondrial dysfunction. So this is the very first one. Mitochondria, that's the energy center of every single cell. And so we get decreased energy in the mitochondria. We also get that dysfunction with just damaged mitochondria. So this is the first place we need to look. When we look there, we start fixing aging at the root. And now we have a lot that's available to us. We have red light therapy. We have multiple supplements that can help with energizing that mitochondria, like NMN, NR, NAD. So there's a lot that we can do in that regard. Chronic inflammation. So we have omega-3 fatty acids, for example. We have curcumin. We have a lot of anti-inflammatory compounds. Of course, optimizing sleep, recovery, all of that can help us with inflammation. Oxidative stress is a huge hallmark of aging. So we're exposed to to a lot of oxidation, and we actually also produce internal oxidants that age us. And so that's where antioxidants come in. They're extremely important to fight off that oxidation. Glycation is a big one with the modern lifestyle, and that means, that's when glucose, those sugar molecules, attach themselves to our proteins, our elastin and our collagen, and that, causes them to stiffen, they harden, and they break, and that causes that premature aging. So that's something to definitely pay attention to. Hormone decline, without question, especially for us women. For men, their hormones decline very steadily, but for women, we have a sharp decline. We have a huge, huge drop at menopause, and so with that, we lose estrogen, which is the very signal that tells our skin to create more collagen. It's literally signaling our entire body to function. So that's why we start getting brain fog, because we lose those signals that tell the brain to stay sharp, and so on. And so, with menopause, our approach to aging should be completely different than our approach, pre-menopause. Then, of course, you have muscle and fascia changes with age, because our repair processes become much and much slower. So we have to invest a lot more in nutrition and protein, also in exercise. All these things are going to help us support that skin when we're building the muscle and we're supporting our bones and other structures. Of course, microbiome imbalances, so that comes with age as well. Our bacteria, changes, whether it's microbiome that's topical, whether it's gut microbiome, which of course our gut is directly linked to our skin and our brains. Circulation, so a lot of us, they kind of take it easy as we age, and that's one of the worst things that we do. We actually need to increase our movement to make sure that there is that hyaluronic acid and that water still moving through the joints and the fascia, and that will help support the skin as well. Poor recovery, and that's because, again, as we age, we're sleeping less, we have less nutrient, not just nutrient intake, but also nutrient assimilation. Our bodies are not as powerful anymore. They're not as capable of extracting those nutrients, so we need just the extra support. So this is not doom and gloom. This is just really uncovering. This is kind of having that list there, all the things that contribute to us aging. And I don't define aging as just wrinkling. Again, I refer to someone that would have a facelift, they don't all of a sudden look 20, right? And so aging is beyond just wrinkles. It's your skin quality, it's dullness, it's pigmentation, it's wrinkles, it's loss of tone, all those things. And then, of course, nervous system dysregulation. So that happens with age, and that can interrupt that repair. So our cortisol goes up, and then that kind of slows everything down. So healthy aging, in kind of the summary of all of this, healthy aging requires supporting the entire system, not just the skin. All right, so let's see. Next, did I skip one? Okay, here we go. So zooming in on mitochondria. So mitochondria, that was the first, point that I referred to earlier, the first hallmark, that's the word I was looking for. And so our skin runs on energy. Essentially, every single cell in our body runs on energy. And that's called ATP. That's the energy currency. And so why do we need to pay attention to that? Is because if you have more energy, you're able to repair damage better, which means you're able to produce more collagen, regulate inflammation, maintain your skin's integrity, recover from stress. And when mitochondrial function declines, your skin becomes thinner, your healing slows, inflammation rises, elasticity declines, and then, of course, fatigue and aging accelerate. Now, the second hallmark of aging, and it's a big one, it's becoming more and more important as research keeps, coming out about how much inflammation is involved in how we age, among other things, disease and so on, but we'll just focus on aging. So inflammation can be triggered by various things, stress, poor sleep, processed foods, harsh skincare. So this obviously refers to topical inflammation. So there's systemic inflammation and there's topical inflammation. And so for topical topical, it's your overexfoliation, environmental toxins, blood sugar imbalances, microbiome. And so with inflammation, so the higher that inflammation is, the lower your collagen quality, for example. There's increase in pigmentation, and lowering of your, barrier health. And then your healing capacity is reduced. Sorry, I'm being a little bit distracted by the comments here. I'm going to get to all of the comments, you guys, and the questions at the end of the webinar. So if anybody wants to join in on the webinar and see the slides through Zoom, you can do that through my stories on the Beauty Doctrine accounts. All right, so back to the webinar. Let's talk about structural aging. So I created this just to give you guys a visual of all of the different structures that are involved. So from the bone to the muscle to the fat to the fascia and then the skin. And so aging, again, will affect all of those structures together. Let's go back to our slide. Here we go. And that's exactly why skincare is extremely limited on how it can help us reverse aging. Now, the skin barrier, and this I've seen, so many times that I wanted. And so this is kind of the common thinking in beauty is, attack the skin, create inflammation. So you can trigger that inflammatory response. So you create the inflammation to trigger repair, essentially. So if you're doing, let's say, microneedling, you're causing, injury in the skin. So your body is going to want to repair it and is going to create more collagen. Where theoretically that's true. And that's also true that it's going to give you those instant results. So yes, you're going to see obviously some swelling, some inflammation. You'll see less wrinkling. There is more collagen production because obviously that's a scar. You're creating all these scars and the body's trying to heal, so it's making that collagen. But the issue with that, there are many issues. So one of the issues is that you're disrupting your barrier, as you see here on this, in this image. So you're compromising that protective layer. So the modern approach, what it does, it just for the sake of producing more collagen, we're compromising that protective layer. They somehow think of it as something that's disposable, and it's not. So we still need some of that dead skin. We need that lipid barrier to protect the skin. Why? Because first of all, it helps regulate our temperature. It helps hold that hydration in the skin, ward off inflammation. It helps with your microbiome, that topical microbiome on the skin with that balance. Environmental defense, of course, our barrier layer is very important for increased skin resilience. And a compromised layer, of course, leads to redness, irritation, acne, dehydration, sensitivity, and accelerated aging. It just looks different than collagen loss, okay? So healthy skin is calm skin, and that's something that's kind of rare these days, and that's what we should be aiming at. It's calmer skin, because believe it or not, our bodies are able to regenerate collagen. So our bodies are very, very smart. We have everything we need to repair. We just need to create the environment for repair, and we need to provide the body all of the raw materials to be able to repair. So essentially, here is the functional beauty framework. Functional beauty focuses on root cause solutions, long-term skin compatibility, and that's when it comes to skincare, obviously, reducing chronic inflammation, strengthening the barrier, supporting mitochondrial health, smarter ingredient choices, and ingredients matter. And I see this still, so a lot of people still think that, 2 or 3 peptide serums are equal. They're not. If a peptide serum comes with fragrance and it comes with sensitizers, it's no longer beneficial. It may give you the peptides because that's the fancy ingredient that's being promoted, but it's also giving you inflammation. It's also giving you potential for hormone disruption. And so when we're selecting a skincare product, it really, and now we have a lot of choices. There is no excuse not to choose cleaner formulations, okay? So I still see the beauty industry critique clean because they're like, it's not regulated and this and that, but it's at least an attempt to getting healthier products on the skin that are going to at least minimize your exposure to carcinogenic ingredients, which we see a lot, especially in like a lot of sunscreens. Again, fragrance, which very often would have phthalates, which are hormone disrupting ingredients, or parabens and things like that. So ingredients matter. Also, ingredient concentration matter. So there's a huge focus now with all the marketing, with social media. Now we're kind of bombarded with so much information, and so people think, or they see a post, a simple post that says azelaic acid can help you with pigmentation, and then they go googling an azelaic acid serum. It's not that easy. And so every single ingredient has a lot of nuance, and every single ingredient comes in a formula of other ingredients that can impact your skin differently. So ingredients absolutely matter. So the next thing is recovery and nervous system support. And this is so important because you can be adopting all of the things that I'm talking about, okay? So you can pay attention to your mitochondrial energy and your structures, and you're boosting your, let's say, bone structure, you're taking your vitamin D, and you're doing your, vibration, all these things. But then your body's not able to recover. Why? If you are releasing so much cortisol, if you're always in fight or flight, if you're not sleeping at night, you're not getting that deep sleep, that REM sleep, your body's just not able to repair. And so that is huge. So there, in beauty, there's that expression, beauty sleep, and that is true, actually. I believe that beauty sleep is real, and I'm sure every one of you has, or has noticed it at some point. When you don't get a good night's sleep, you wake up and you have brain fog, your skin is looking dull, you feel like you aged because you were not able to recover overnight. And so, during the day, we need to be taking in all of the things that are going to be supportive. So our proteins and our supplements and all these things are going to help our bodies recover and regenerate, make new collagen and repair tissues. But then at night, that's when your body is able to do that job. So if you're not getting that deep sleep, if you're not allowing for your nervous system to calm down, you're not going to be able to get into that repair phase. And this is something that's never talked about in the beauty industry. It's all about here, tretinoin, there's Botox, there's this and that. And those are all short-term solutions. They're not comprehensive. They're not targeting all the things that we've covered so far in this webinar. And so anti-aging is sustainable and it requires patience. So you're never going to attain it. Like true anti-aging, it's not going to be attained through all of these like short-term methods. So I also created what I call the TBD method of application. So TBD stands for the Beauty Doctrine. So it's my method from 30 years of working in beauty and seeing that a lot of skincare products are truly not working. They're not delivering what they're promising. So I created this method to help consumers apply products in the right order, obviously given that you're using clean products, again, because ingredients matter. But we want kind of a roadmap of how do we apply these products so that the skin can actually, benefit from them, so that they can absorb. Because if you just, let's say, you're buying a sunscreen, moisturizer, like a tinted moisturizer, you really aren't getting much. You're not getting much moisture. You're not getting much protection with sunscreen. It's like a diluted sunscreen, and the moisturizer is sitting on the surface. It's not going to go into the skin and actually help you. And so what's going to help you is when you're applying, first of all, making sure the skin is not deeply, dehydrated and dry. So we're not using surfactants. So the first step is going to be a gentle cleanser that's not stripping your skin. Second, we want a mist. We want hydration first. So hydration is separate from moisture. So hydration, it refers to water. Moisture refers to oil. And so you want to give that skin that hydration first. So you do a nice generous mist, obviously with the right ingredients and the right pH. So then step 3 in the TBD method is activate, and that's your water-based serum. Why do I I prefer serums over moisturizers any day. A lot of moisturizers are just heavy, they're sitting on the surface. Serums are lighter, they're also more concentrated, they're able to absorb deeper into the skin. Obviously, well formulated serums. And so we want to start with a water based serum first. So that it would go in first to the skin and then an oil-based serum on top of it. So that's very important. That's the right method for your skin to be able to absorb all those things and benefit from your skincare routine. Otherwise, you're just layering a ton of different stuff that's not working, that's just sitting on the surface. So then protect is the next step, and that's, you know, daytime, that's protecting with sunscreen. Nighttime is protecting with an occlusive cream. That's when a moisturizer comes in handy, is nighttime as your very last step. So it's 5 steps every single day. That's it. No skin flooding, you guys. Skin flooding benefits the influencer that's making commissions, or it benefits the brand that's selling a ton of different products. That's really it. You don't need to flood the skin or 5 different toners. It's absurd, okay? The reason I say this, and I'm very passionate about this, because every single water-based product requires a lot of preservatives, because otherwise mold will grow in the formula, okay? And so imagine having, you know, to flood your skin with all of these different toners. You're applying, let's say you're applying 5, which I see on social media, and it's really absurd. So when you're flooding your skin with 5 different toners, that's not just the fermented formula. It's not just niacinamide or the minerals. It's the entire range of ingredients that you're applying, including a preservative system, which benefits the formula, not your skin. So the more preservatives you're applying on your skin, the more abrasive, the more you're going to break down that lipid barrier. And so if you want to flood your skin, you get one mist. So a really good one that's clean, that has a mild preservative system, and then apply a lot of it. So you apply a lot of one product rather than 5 different formulas with harsh ingredients, okay? All right, so TBD method, 5 steps, straightforward, and they will target every single concern that your skin has. So the last step that you'll see on the slide here is renew, and that is gentle exfoliation. Typically once a week. There is a little bit of room here for maybe adjustment by skin type and concern. Let's say we're trying to reduce pigmentation, we can go with maybe twice a week, depending on the skin, if your skin can tolerate it. But generally, it's about once a week. You know, contrary to what we're being told in the beauty industry, that you need to exfoliate pretty much daily. There's a lot of brands still and a lot of practitioners that recommend daily exfoliation, which is absurd. We don't make that much dead skin, and you know, if you exfoliate that often, you're just breaking down the barrier, and you're speeding up aging. That leads to that premature aging. All right, so as a 49-year-old skincare expert and woman in perimenopause, these are the solutions. These are the things that I adopt in my own life and that I recommend to most of my clients. These are the proven methods. So all of this that's on this screen is really kind of your basic essential blueprint, so you're not having to guess. So first thing, absolute first, before any skincare, before anything else, is protein. Our bodies are made of protein, and collagen is a type of protein, okay? So you have the actual protein, which comes from the muscle, which is what we consume. If you're having a steak or you're having, you know, chicken breast, that's actual muscle from an animal. And then you have collagen, which is the connective tissue. So collagen is what our gut is made of, our gut lining. That's what our skin is made of. And so all of our connective tissues are made with collagen. And so we need that. It's like a viscous, lubricating type of protein, and it's very, very low in the Western diet. And so it's something that I recommend even to my clients in their 20s. The biggest prevention is to ensure that you are optimizing your protein intake and your collagen intake, because that's what you're made of. That's what your tissues are made of, and your body absolutely needs that dose. It needs you to deliver, to provide it that protein plus collagen on a daily basis to be able to repair your tissues, okay? Especially if you want to, let's say you spent a lot of years when you were a teenager or in your early 20s, you know, on the beach, surfing, you know, maybe drinking alcohol, all these things that really break down your collagen, you want to pay extra attention to your protein. And as we advance in age, our requirements get higher and higher, not less. So a lot of us consume less food. You know, as we age, we need to just kind of prioritize. Even if you're consuming less calories, the bulk of them should be, you know, protein and good fats. All right, so next one is sleep and recovery. I think I've covered that quite a bit throughout the webinar. Red light therapy is huge. It's one of my favorite modalities. It's not invasive as long as you choose the right device. The benefits are tremendous because that targets that first hallmark of aging, which is mitochondrial decline. It boosts your mitochondrial energy, which means your body's going to be able to repair far better. Obviously, walking, resistance training, nervous system regulation, hydration and minerals. Hydration is huge. I still will talk to clients here and there that they don't even think that hydration is that important. And so we absolutely need water. We need water because that's what's going to hydrate our cells. They stay nice and plump. Dehydrated cells means that you're going to start getting those fine lines that eventually become wrinkles. And plus, we're made of 70% water. We absolutely need that water. And as we age, we need to add minerals into it. Okay, so more minerals ensure deeper hydration. So the minerals that what will drive that water into the cell itself. Okay, so just drinking a lot of water might not be as helpful if we are lacking minerals. And so we need to focus on lowering that inflammation, adopting a skincare routine that's barrier safe. I cannot emphasize that enough. And then, of course, fascia and lymphatic work. So this is something that's just now resurfacing, which is very nice because fascia is very much involved in how we age, and of course in inflammation and hydration, hyaluronic acid, and so on. And that lymphatic, lymphatic drainage becomes increasingly important now that a lot of us are sedentary. And so if you have an active lifestyle, you're always walking and moving, you might not need to pay close attention to it. But if you're sitting at a desk, most of the day, it's really important that you're optimizing that lymphatic drainage, because otherwise this is going to lead to puffiness, to jowling, and of course, just dullness overall, because that lymphatic fluid is what holds a lot of toxins, and we have to keep moving those toxins away to clear them from the face, or of course we have those all over the body. So lymphatic work is extremely important. And lastly, mitochondrial support. All right, so let's see if we can move this slide a little faster. Here we go. And then if I was to summarize it, you guys probably hear me talk a lot about supplements in all of my content, which sometimes gets confusing because there's a lot. So I just kind of summarized the main ones, the foundational supplements on this screen. And so, and this is just from a beauty perspective, the supplements that will truly support our skin. So the first one is going to be marine collagen peptides. So we're not looking at any other type of collagen. It needs to be marine. So that's the very best one. And even better, wild caught marine collagen. Creatine, very important because that supports our muscle. So the collagen supports the skin and the bone. Creatine supports our muscle. Omega-3s reduce inflammation. They also act as a lubricant and a moisturizer. They support our cell membranes. I love C15. That's an incredible molecule that a lot of us, it's a fatty molecule that a lot of us are lacking. So it's something, if you're 40 plus, you could really benefit from. Magnesium, all of us will benefit from magnesium because it's essential for so many enzymatic functions, and yet most of us are deficient. Vitamin D3 with K2, without question. Spermidine is one that's not talked about often, and yet it's one of the top molecules for longevity and anti-aging because that helps with autophagy, so it's cellular cleanup. Otherwise, you're just holding on to a lot of damaged cells, which will slow down recovery and speed up aging. Urolithin A, I very often talk about that, and to me, that made it to my foundational supplement list, again, especially 40 plus, okay? So these are foundational for 40 plus. Everything else was pretty much everyone, okay? So urolithin A is amazing for that mitochondrial cleanup. So spermidine helps with cellular cleanup. Urolithin A is mitochondrial cleanup, which is called mitophagy. So all that damaged mitochondria that accumulates, it's going to help recycle. NMN will boost our NAD, which is the energy that's essential for recovery and repair. And then greens, if you're not consuming greens, it becomes increasingly important to supplement them because they help detoxify. So they help detoxify excess hormones, they detoxify our liver, and so on. And minerals go without question because we can't repair without minerals, we can't hydrate without minerals. They're absolutely essential. So this is your little cheat sheet. If you're 40 plus, we want to make sure that all of these are incorporated, or you're working your way towards incorporating them in your supplement stack. Low tox living is extremely important because, you know, obviously we can clean up our diet. We can try to, you know, de-stress and so on. But if we're surrounding our bodies and we live in an environment that's really toxic, that can impact our ability to recover. And it's also introducing all these hormone disruptors. So we're always going to be in a state of imbalance. And so it's really important to work your way towards that. So I just included a few things here on this screen. So you know, this is not comprehensive by any means, but a place to get us started. And so that's, you know, paying attention to your water quality, because our water these days has lots of chlorine and a lot of, you know, heavy metals and toxins and so on. So, you know, using a filter, that's just mandatory these days. Air quality, and by that I mean having an air purifier in your home, not burning candles, and like having all these air purifiers that are full of synthetic fragrances that actually they can affect our hormones internally. Cookware, so a lot of the cookware, like the Teflon stuff, that releases a lot of PFAS into our food, those are also hormone disruptors. So generally, you know, fragrance exposure through cleaning products and all the things we surround our bodies with in our environment. So that increases your toxic burden. So that just means that's more that your fat cells are holding on to, that's more that your liver is processing. And so that means that's less recovery. It's, you know, eventually more dull skin and so on. So that affects our entire system, you know, health-wise, but, you know, our skin is always what shows all of the everything that our bodies are struggling with will show in our skin as some type of condition or another. So obviously you guys, you see me a lot on TikTok. I'm online talking about all these things. It's very hard to, you know, it's functional beauty is very complex, right? So there are a lot of different things that we're looking at. And so I created what I call functional beauty protocol. So it is one resource that is like that you just buy into once and then you have unlimited access to it. So I'm constantly vetting, like right now I'm spending so much time on TikTok Shop vetting products, trying to curate the healthiest products on there. And so obviously the selection changes all the time. And then I have, like, when I vet like now probably 2,000 products, I'm gonna go back and clean them up and so on. And so the functional beauty protocol is gonna have the absolute best of the best. So you don't have to keep scrolling through the beautydoctrine.com or scrolling through TikTok Shop trying to find the best recommendations. This is one, it's like it's made on Canva, so it's public. Once you get the protocol, you can access it anytime. It's going to be updated on the 1st of every single month, and you don't have to go and book consultations with me. You don't have to go and get any of the other resources like courses and things like that. You can just go straight to the protocol, and it gives you the most up-to-date, you know, supplement stacks or skincare routine for dry skin or oily skin or combination, whatever it is. Everything is summarized into that protocol. So I really would recommend everyone go here if you don't want to spend hours sorting through all the videos and all the content to find your answers. So it's very comprehensive. And again, it's a live document that continues to be updated. So I highly recommend it. And I think Vivian is going to drop the link in the chat for anyone that's interested in it. All right, so next, let's see. There we go. So just some other resources besides the protocol, you guys. Really trying to go back to Substack to write more about beauty. I love to write. I haven't gotten much, a lot of chances this year being busy with TikTok, but that's something that's where a lot of my efforts moving forward will go to. So make sure that you're subscribed to Substack. It's still a free subscription. It's going to become paid very soon. So just take advantage of the free subscription right now. The beautydoctrine.com is always where I curate the best of the best. So all five-star products, the cleanest selection that meets all of my criteria 100%, they're going to be on the beautydoctrine.com. Everywhere else, I do my very best to find the cleanest options possible, but that's not always, those options are not always available. So your best resource will be the beautydoctrine.com. If you have a product that you're considering and you want to get my opinion on it, the beautydoctrinereviews.com, that's where I'm reviewing a bunch of different products across the market. I mean, the beauty industry now it's like billions of dollars, the size of the industry, I think 500 billion at this point. And so the product selections are endless. So I'm working my way as I vet products for TikTok Shop or other platforms. I do, whenever I have time, I add them on the Beauty Doctrine review. So you can go on there, you'll see what my reviews are. I have a point system from like 1 star to 5 stars, and then kind of a little note on there, and it gives you a link to where the best place to buy the product if the review is good. So everything on this slide is going to be a resource that you can reference. But again, I would recommend everyone get the functional beauty protocol. If you don't want to spend a ton of time sorting through things, just go straight to that. There is a way to support the Beauty Doctrine efforts, and that's to become a beauty insider on the beautydoctrine.com. And so you have all of these privileges that you see now on screen. I'm not going to read them one at a time, but you can definitely find out more information. You can get the monthly monthly subscription or the yearly one. And so that gets you Zoom calls with me directly. You can email me with questions and so on. So you get more access to my time and expertise. We're almost done, you guys. Let's see. Let's keep an eye on time. Okay, we're right on time. So this is just a slide where you have the entire functional beauty plan. So kind of like all the essentials that are truly going to help you, towards that good skin. So protecting the skin, protection is number one. And so that's your daily sunscreen. Sounds so boring, but it really will make the biggest difference in your skin, given you select the right sunscreen, which is a zinc oxide that's tinted, preserving your muscle. So that's the biggest. As you lose all that structure in the skin, the muscle is really where we have a lot of control. So you do that, you preserve it, and you keep building it. That's your facelift, really. That's the natural facelift. Supporting your collagen with adequate protein, supporting cellular energy, lowering chronic inflammation, and then just knowing all the changes that happen to your body, kind of being attuned to your body post 40. So kind of being attuned to your hormone status and kind of fixing those things, and then working with glucose metabolism as well. And then consistency. So I give a lot of questions. Would this facial work, and would this peel work, and this and that? All those things are just instant gratification. What truly will get you that good skin is just knowing all these basics, and kind of how to address them, and staying as consistent as possible. So it's not about being perfect, but it's about being consistent. So this is we always do kind of a little thank you gift for every single webinar. So today's gift is 20% off all purchases on the beautydoctrine.com. So that's just for today. And so the code is clean20. So that goes for you guys as well, since you don't get to see the slides here. So just clean20 gets you 20% today only. And we only do the webinar once a month. And then of course you have, there's that gift from Agent Nature, their acid wash, that's an exfoliating facial wash, that's added to all purchases of $150 or more. And I think this is it. I think the next slide is Q&A. Yeah, and it's the announcement of the next webinar. So if you've missed this webinar, If you want to provide me any type of feedback, any questions, suggestions for the upcoming webinar, again, which is September 24th, just feel free to email info@thebeautydoctrine.com, or in the chat, drop your email so I can email you the survey. And this is it. I hope that this was of value to you guys. If you have any questions, especially here on the actual webinar in the session, please drop them now in the chat. I'll go ahead and answer those first, and then I will direct my attention to social media. So let's see, I'm just going to open up the chat here and see if we have anything that came up throughout the presentation. Oh, hi, Miriam. So glad to see you here. All right, so looking for any questions. So these supplements are daily, right? Yes, Don, absolutely. Okay, I think we're good. I don't see any questions that were not answered. All right, so I'm gonna keep this open for just a couple more seconds for you guys to access the protocol if you wanted to. I see that Vivian dropped the link to the protocol. Do you resistance train? Okay, so this is a question for the attendees, not me. Okay, cool. So thank you guys so much for attending the webinar. There is another session at 7 p.m. If you joined late and you wanted to kind of see the full webinar, I will go ahead and close this out, but I'll keep an eye here on social media for just a couple more minutes to see if we have any unanswered questions. Thank you, appreciate you. I'll see you next time. All right, so let's see one. I'm gonna check out TikTok first and then we'll get to YouTube. Thank you, Daniela. I really appreciate you. I see all of the call outs there. Okay, all right, very cool. We'll close out TikTok. I think we're good with that. And then I'll take a look at YouTube real quick here. Wonderful webinar. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Jody. Products that would be an absolute no for dry, mature skin. Gosh, the first one that comes to mind, actually, I was just doing a consultation yesterday, and a client was using what's that? The really popular one, Paula's Choice BHA toner. Everybody's using it. And so that will make you even drier, because anytime you see BHA, those are beta hydroxy acids. And so those are going to control oil in your skin. So if you already don't have enough oil, if you're already dry, you're drying out your skin even further. So avoid BHAs. Anytime you see on the label the word BHA, it can also show up on the ingredient list as willow bark or salicylic acid. Those are absolutely destructive to dry skin. So the other thing that can be destructive is any type of physical exfoliation, or even layering a lot of water-based products, because like I said earlier, they tend to have a lot of preservatives, and those preservatives can be drying and damaging for the lipid barrier, which is supposed to be there to protect your skin from water loss. So hopefully that helped. Let's see if we have any other question. Okay, so I think we're good because we talked about Zip versus NuFace earlier. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Jody. I will see you in the next live. Take care. Bye.